What's going on, everyone? We got to go over Bitcoin. As you guys can see here, we're at 64.6K currently inside of Bitcoin. And right now, Bitcoin is trying to push up towards 68K. We're going to talk about that, though. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. Let's go over this, though. So just getting straight into it, as you can see here right now, Bitcoin is currently at 64.7K now. It's been moving up a lot. We have been going through this ascending channel, right? And now we're kind of going through on the smaller time frames an ascending triangle. But we're going to talk about the smaller time frames in a second here. But first, I want to start on the larger time frames, right? Because if you look here at the weekly chart, and let's take off all these drawings. If you look at the weekly chart here, you know, this is still bullish divergence. And for those of you that don't know, bullish divergence is higher lows on the MACD while having lower lows on the chart. If you look here, you're seeing the MACD higher lows, and then you're also seeing all the lower lows on the chart. The real question is, are we done dumping now? Is it finished? So right now, what you're seeing Bitcoin doing is trying to push up here to that 200-day moving average. Currently, it's at 71K. If we were to get there, it'd probably be at 69 or 68K by then. We also have the Fibonacci resistance currently at 69K. So that's also another very important area for Bitcoin. But as I was saying before, you know, we're performing this divergence here, this bullish divergence. We got to watch it to see if we're going to end up creating another lower low and another higher low on the MACD. Because if that were to happen, right, we would have just a little bit of selling pressure, just a tiny bit, and then a breakout. But yeah, this is odd. I thought this right here would have came down a lot more, but it did not. You know, it was a very small amount of selling pressure, which means we might be done with that selling pressure. But it also means that we could have a little bit more selling coming in as well, right? Even though it's showing, you know, that small, tiny amount of selling, it could randomly start selling off right now, randomly, right? No one knows what's going to happen. You can't predict it. You can only react to it, right? Trading is all about reacting, not predicting. All right. On the percent R trend exhaustion, we're seeing that we are at that oversold region. And right now it's in a weird space on the weekly chart, right? We got to wait to see if it wants to continue to become oversold or if it's going to break out and continue to become overbought. But at this moment, nothing here is telling you what's going to happen. Nothing here is giving you that info, right? But when you have the MACD, this kind of gives you a little bit of info, right? It says that we could quite possibly create another lower low, right? Or we could have a bit of a breakout before we push down and then create that next low, right? So we could pump a little bit more before we pull back is pretty much what I'm saying here. Now, if you look here at the daily chart, now the daily chart has finished its divergence, right? So I'm thinking the weekly might do something similar to this where you just start to see a lot of buying pressure. But right now it's just not happening, right? On the daily has finished its bullish divergence. Again, that's higher lows on the MACD and lower lows on the chart. The daily chart has finished its bullish divergence. That's why you've seen that takeoff right here. That's why you've seen it pumping so much, right? Because of that bullish divergence. Now what you're starting to see here is a little bit of selling pressure. Honestly, anything could happen at this point, right? From what it looks like here, it looks like we could start getting buying pressure. But I see this time and time again on the MACD where it'll look like it's starting to pull in some buying pressure, and then out of nowhere, selling pressure starts to speed up. Literally happens like that all the time. Like literally traps like that always happen. So you can't really know what's happening on this side either, because you know anything can happen at this point because we're at the tail end of the bear market going into the bull market. So at this point, it's going to be very, very hard to read these charts because it's at the tail end of the bear market. So that's what we're seeing there. Now the percent R trend exhaustion, typically when we see the short-term trend breaking far past the long-term trend, and then we start to see the short-term trend pulling back, we usually get both the short and long-term trend pulling back all the way to the oversold region here. So typically you would see this, you know, so a bull trap like how we're seeing now, and then a continuation downwards. typically I would expect this to sell off into that oversold region. And hypothetically speaking, if that were to happen, we could see 61K again, possibly, and possibly even creating another lower low towards 58K. So that is always a possibility. It's always a possibility for us to see that. Also, if it hits 61K and then continues up, that's what we call an inverse head and shoulders pattern, which is a bullish pattern, right? You come down, you tap the bottom there, at the bottom of the shoulders, you go up, tap that neckline, you go down, that's pretty much the head in the middle. You go up, tap that neckline with the shoulders again, and then boom, tap the shoulders, and then you go up. So if that were to happen, you can see it looks exactly like how it's looking, right? So this right here is the neckline, right? And then we go boom, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, come back down, tap 60K possibly or 61K, and then continue up, right? So if it is a inverse head and shoulders, that's a bullish pattern. So that's one thing that I'm watching out for. Because if that is true, then the bottom is in, right? If that is true, then the bottom is in, right? But we don't know if it's true until then, right? So, we'll just have to wait. But yeah, like I said before, with the percent R trend exhaustion, I am expecting the daily to pull back some more. But honestly, anything can happen right now. So nothing that I say is bond, right? Word is not bond right now. So disregard anything that anybody is saying right now. All you can really trust is, the price action, right? You can't really predict anything right now or ever. You can't ever predict anything. You got to react. But especially right now is not the time where you want to be trying to predict what's going to happen next, because it's going to be damn near impossible, right? We're at the 50 moving average right here, 50-day moving average, and right now we're trying to break past it on the 4-hour. Let's go back to the daily and look at that moving average. If we push down below the 50 moving average on the daily, which is currently at 63.3K, if we push below that, well, 63.4K. If we push below it one more time, that will probably send us down to 61K. And then we have the opportunity to try to play out that inverse head and shoulders, right? So if we break that 50 MA on the daily chart, which is at 63.4K, then we will end up seeing a pretty big dump. All right. And then, like I was saying on the weekly, again, if we're looking towards that resistance up there, it could try to push up there too to that 200-day moving average, but only time will tell with that. Now on the 2-hour chart, the MACD on the 2-hour chart, not really telling us much info, but it is showing that we have a good amount of buying pressure, right? If this starts to pull back, we might even see more buying pressure come in, and might see it look similar to that, right? But that is just pure speculation. Honestly, it's pure speculation. Now the percent R trend exhaustion is at that equilibrium space for the long-term trend, which is right in the middle. But the short-term trend is pushing to the overbought region, which means it could help the long-term trend push up as well. But last time this happened, it actually ended up dumping right here. So keep that in mind as well. Anything is possible at this point. Now this is the 2-hour. So now we can go to the hourly chart. And then on the hourly chart here, you can see possibly creating bearish divergence on the hourly chart, which is higher highs on the charts while simultaneously getting lower highs on the MACD. If you look at the current state of this is the first high, and then we might have some selling. Well, we are having a little bit of selling pressure, and then we might have some buying pressure that is going to be that next lower high, right? Next lower high on the MACD, which then creates the higher high on the chart. And that would actually coincide with our ascending triangle. Ascending triangles are bullish patterns. They have about a 77% win rate to the upside. It's either 72% or 77% win rate to the upside, right? But it's usually pretty high, but it doesn't mean it's going to pump. It might just dump right here, right? Anything can happen. But if it does pump, then it definitely coincides with the fact that we have bearish divergence and could have another higher high, pushing it up to 65.4K, right? So we'll see what happens there with that if it breaks out to the upside of the ascending triangle. Now, the 30-minute is also showing a little bit of bearish divergence here. Let's see if we create another higher high. but at the moment it's just a bunch of selling pressure. So maybe we'll break out upwards or not. But from what it looks like, that selling pressure is looking pretty heavy. Looking at the percent R trend exhaustion though, when you see that long-term trend just being stubborn and staying inside of the overbought region, that typically means the short-term trend is about to probably pump up and push the price back up and is going to stay overbought with it for a little bit longer, right? Typically, right? It doesn't always have to happen that way, but that's how it typically is. All right. And then we have all the other smaller time frames, which really don't matter because by the time I put the video out, all the other ones aren't going to matter, right? But anyways, that's all I got for Bitcoin right now. And I know it's probably not what you're hoping for, but there's no definitive answer where things are going right now, right? We have bullish signals and we have bearish signals. We're at the tail end of the bear market going into the bull market. So we don't know if we have bottomed out yet or we don't know if we're going to continue to bottom. We have what seems to be an inverse head and shoulders. But then again, we also have different divergences, right? On the weekly, we have bullish divergence, right? Which could, break out now. We already created the lower lows. So I mean, this could be 58K, could have been at the bottom. It could have. But there's no way to know 100%. We'll just have to keep watching it and keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that's all I got for that. Now we have Twitter gurus, right? And this Twitter guru, he's saying Bitcoin stuck at 65K through 64K, everything going exactly as he planned and predicted because he's a guru and he knows everything. And he knows when Bitcoin is going to dump. He knows when Bitcoin is going to pump. He is a guru on Twitter, right? All these Twitter gurus, all these X gurus, all these crypto gurus, they claim to know what's going to happen, but nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. So you have Twitter gurus claiming that Bitcoin has bottomed out, and then you have Twitter gurus claiming that it hasn't, right? And this guy says that the next bull trap is going to go down to 54K, right? He says after this week it's going to dump to 54K, right? That's what this guru is saying. This guru is saying that it's not going to bottom out, and he knows it, and he's predicted everything so far. And he's saying it's not going to bottom out, and he's saying that it's probably going to end up taking off. He says it's not going to 40K, it's going to take off, right? That's what this guru is saying. So, you can't trust anybody right now. You can't even trust me right now. But even though I'm being fair and balanced, and I'm not giving you a definitive answer, I'm not telling you it's bullish, I'm not telling you it's bearish, right? We have both bullish and bearish signs. Anybody who's telling you it's one definite thing is lying to you, literally, because there is no way of knowing what's happening right now because we're trying to transition into the bull market from now. So we'll have to wait and see. But that inverse head and shoulders pattern scenario is looking pretty base right now. Base like the chain, right? But it is looking pretty based right now. The inverse head and shoulders scenario, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm leaning a little bit towards it, but the daily chart percent R trend exhaustion just makes me feel like it's gonna dump, right? I feel like there's gonna be a trap because of this, but we're gonna have to wait and see. And no one knows 100% what's happening. Anyways, check out the link in the description for AdvantageFi if you want to do the best DeFi perps trading on the base platform. You can check out AdvantageFi link in the description. Check out the link in the description for the crypto and options edge group if you want. And I got some stuff on here if you want to look at it. But anyways, this is all I got for you guys today. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe. Remember, I'm not a financial advisor and none of this is financial advice. And leave a comment in the comment section. As always, I'll be back with another video.